Otro jueves más con el Inside Star Citizen. Que en este caso, pues, nos van a hablar de la Idris, la poderosa Idris.
Last week was our inaugural Idris Wargames test, and while that completed earlier this week with many lessons learned, and the ship itself is still awaiting important resource management, maelstrom, multi-crew gameplay work, and more before it'll arrive permanently in the persistent universe.
Dice, la semana pasada estuvimos con la Guerra de la Iris, el evento de la Guerra de la Iris, y que hemos aprendido muchas lecciones del evento, y que todavía sigue esperando por que se aplique el Maelstrom, bueno, que se apliquen más cosas a la nave, ¿no? Que todavía faltan un montón de cosas para la nave.
We here at ISC still jumped at the chance to showcase the current artistic progress of the vehicle inside and out, as well as to enlist a few of our oldest friends in providing a sort of director's commentary to the proceedings. Here's how it went.
Vale, nos van a enseñar cómo está resultando lo que es el tema del desarrollo de la Idris y de la mano de dos viejos conocidos.
Just a little bit of cameras. Hi, I'm John Krug. I'm Nick Tearsley, part of the art director of 2042 era.
Your new title.
I don't even know what I am anymore. Shall I say that? Shall I say that? That'd be good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Nate. I've not got a clue what I am anymore.
He's the one.
That'll go down well.
The one beef of the
Should we
week.
do that? Yeah.
Get it
Some
in early.
days I'm this, other days I'm that.
What do you want to be today, Nate?
I don't know what I want to be today. What should I be today? Yeah, I was the art director for the thing. There you go.
Do you want me to go first?
You can be my bloody guest, mate.
Okay. Hi, my name's John Crew. I'm the vehicle art director.
Hi, my name's Nate. I was the vehicle art director.
We've been asked today to give you a little
Soy John Crew y soy el director de arte de vehículos, y el otro dice soy Nate y era el director de vehículos antes, ¿no?
director's commentary over the Idris that you will have seen in the PU being fought over recently.
Comentarios del director acerca de la Idris que ha sido combatida en el PU recientemente.
Right, so the exterior, this has had quite a few iterations over time in terms of not the shape stayed the same, but how, like, the breakup, the materials on it, the engine thrust.
El exterior sigue siendo el mismo, pero los materiales o cómo rompen las formas sí que ha cambiado. Los impulsores también.
The thrusters of...
Yeah, the shapes remain pretty true. We did make amendments to the exterior to fit the interior in because the number of spaces that we needed for Squadron sort of slowly increased. So it's a very tightly packed capital ship.
If you look at the original concept, it was quite a thin ship as well.
Yeah.
It just couldn't fit everything in it.
I think my favourite feature.
Dice que si miramos el concepto original, que era muy delgado el concepto y que pues ha crecido, ¿no? Para variar, para poder meter todas las cosas que tiene que meter en el interior.
Feature from the original one was the hilarious flight of stairs that came down in the middle of the flight deck. Yeah, I think that was my first fix.
Then we're going to fly into the back of it, which is the way most players should normally enter the Idris.
Los jugadores deberían entrar por la parte de detrás. De esta forma sería la forma normal de entrar.
Casi me lo pierdo.
Hey, muchas gracias, Shusho.
You can go in the front, but that'll be a bit...
It's getting dark now, John.
Yeah. So there we go. In Squadron, there is space for 2 Gladiuses, Gladii, and there's a space for the Argo and PV at the back, but you can technically fit 3 ships in here.
Yeah, when you first land, you'll sort of notice that the exits for the hangar are generally sort of at a lower level. One of the things we do a lot of throughout the ship actually is just slight changes in elevation, even though you're on the same deck. And the general layout is fairly symmetrical, I would say. The ship, when it was first put together, was really sort of, I would say, designed from the inside out. So there was a lot of amendments on the
Yeah. ¡Dios! Está diciendo de que en el escuadrón iremos con 2 naves, pero que en el universo persistente podrán entrar 3 naves perfectamente. Y que el diseño inicial de la nave pues se empezó a hacer desde dentro hacia afuera.
Exterior to make the interior, interior to me is always king. You spend a lot longer on the interior of the ship. So we sculpted the exterior skin around that. If you were to hide that exterior, I mean, there is no breathing room. It is like a bit of an engineering masterpiece, to be honest.
Dice que no hay, el exterior está perfectamente encajado, amoldado al interior y que no hay espacio restante, está súper aprovechado al máximo, ¿no? Que es una obra maestra de ingeniería.
This is where the MPUV hangs from the ceiling.
Skydiving also.
Yeah, I've watched many people accidentally fall out the bottom of the Idris in atmosphere out that hole. So don't do that.
Or if you want to recreate the alien dropship scene, it's pretty cool.
El hueco para largo, ¿no? Qué chulo, tío.
The gravity room, which was originally upstairs. We had to shift things around through the process again, taking inspiration from, real-world scientific areas. That whole room actually closes into its own cylinder. You have to sort of open the door to sort of get in, and you can close it behind you. It's quite a trip.
Qué locura. Dice que se han inspirado en movidas de ciencia y demás y han movido lo que es el antiguo espacio para la zona de gravedad, y ahora vemos aquí que es como que se cierra una habitación así redondeada. Está súper guapo.
And for all intents and purposes, unless you're going to your bunk or you're going to very specific areas like the briefing room or the gravity room, which you've just seen there are no dead ends. It was put together when I was on the ship and originally sort of designed it. It was very much sort of focused around multiplayer combat at the time, and a good multiplayer map is you've always got options. You've always got at least 2 options at every corridor, every room.
Dice, a no ser que vayas a un lugar muy específico, la nave está diseñada para que siempre tengas un par de opciones a la hora de tomar un camino.
You're constantly flowing.
Yeah, no dead end. So yeah,
Constantemente fluyendo, o sea que no hay callejones sin salida en la nave.
as you can see.
I actually had a bug this morning come through about the writing on the wall being shorthand.
Oh dear.
So it's spelt incorrectly.
Oh.
I was like, no, it's not. It's an intentional choice.
Yeah.
So we've got the ATC room, which overlooks the hangar, which is obviously very useful for being an ATC. We'll come back later to the other side to see what's in there. There's a lot of decks to the Idris.
Yeah. There's the subdeck in the Argo, which you'd have seen, or the utility vehicle, I should call it.
Están comentando de que esa es la habitación del controlador aéreo, que es bastante útil para lo que es el controlador aéreo, y que volveremos más tarde, y que también pues está lo que es la cubierta. Hay varias cubiertas, y pues otra de las cubiertas que tenemos es la de donde está el Argo.
You've got your main deck. This is the main symmetrical area, and then through the heart, I would say the center of that sort of floor plan is all of the, I would say, business side of the room. So obviously you've got your mess hall here.
It's a chow line. Don't talk about the chow line. It's
I hear roast lamb is still on special.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an inside joke, by the way.
La cubierta
Sleeping
principal.
quarters.
La cubierta principal, donde tenemos la zona de comer, la zona de vivienda.
This is for your general crew
Yep.
for the ship. The bunks have shutters on them, a bit more privacy.
With inbuilt home entertainment system.
So this is 2 mirrored, I guess, solo cabins. The pilots get their own little area at the end.
Which are about to get a little bit bigger, but you didn't hear that from me.
So the version
Y luego estarían los pilotos que tienen su propia habitación.
that you're seeing here is taken from a point in time on Squadron recently, but there are lots of little tweaks that we'll talk about in the future to deliver more of the Idris. One of them, the missile room, is a big one that's still to come that is not available here at this time.
Claro, dice que bueno, que una de las cosas que vemos aquí que son tomadas del escuadrón, y que otras cosas están por llegar, que hablaremos más adelante. Una de ellas será la habitación de misiles, que no se puede hacer de momento.
But there's, like Nate said, lots of other little tweaks as we get closer to shipping squadron that we'll be making.
Again, inspirations with regards to archetype for Aegis. You can see there's a strong inspiration from some of my favourite 1980s movies through here. I like to see, material breakup, introduce textures.
Dice que hay mucha inspiración aquí de los 80 a los 90 de cine, de series que ha visto, películas, ¿no? Y que pues, la está hablando de los materiales, de cómo se rompen y tal. Que le
Leather,
gusta.
where we can do to make it feel a bit softer and more inviting as a good habitation
Meterle cuero cuando sea posible para poder hacerlo más agradable en medida de lo posible.
area should be. And it's different for different ships, right? But when you're designing a capital ship, it kind of needs to tick all of the boxes. From a putting the ship together point of view, everything is modular. So you'll notice probably in the PU now a lot of these elements are reused in some of the Aegis ships simply because, we try and put the ships together in a modular fashion.
Dice que todo lo que hay aquí es modular, entonces que probablemente veamos cosas que se han utilizado aquí, que se han utilizado en otras naves del verso, de AGX, ¿no? Porque precisamente pues está esa modularidad y se ha hecho con esa intención para poder reaprovechar las cosas, ¿no? Y vemos otra vez las formas de cuero que dicen que es para darle esa sensación más acogedora, ¿no?
And the bigger the ship gets, the more modular it needs to be. You really want to avoid doing too much unique stuff because it will hammer your video memory. Because this was I would say it's the first capital ship we done. It is the first.
Dice que tienen que evitar el poder hacer demasiadas cosas únicas, por eso está la modularidad, para evitar el machacar la memoria de vídeo.
Isn't it? Yeah, and it was really sort of, genesis of, this was put into production actually around the same time as the Retaliator, many years ago. And it was at that time that we started to establish, a really good understanding of how we want habitational areas to feel and look, feeling being a prominent feature. Engineering, again, completely different. You got the technology side of it and the medical side of it. So they became the sort of like 4 style guides, I would say, that became the springboard for a lot of the other ships to sort of follow on from.
Yeah,
Dice que empezaron a hacer Aegis y empezaron a hacer la X-Retrolator, empezaron a hacer esta nave hace bastante tiempo y que fue el punto de partida para definir el estilo de otras naves y de saber cómo querían hacer los interiores, ¿no?
you see a lot of similar stuff in the Hammerhead, which actually uses a lot of the Idris kit as well. Different areas have their different technical feeling.
Las Hammerhead dice que utilizan mucho del kit de la Idris.
You come in through the centre of the med bay, for example. There are very, very, very little right angles. When you look at the floor plan, for example, it generally dollies off at 45-degree angles or 60-degree angles. I don't like right angles in floor plans. Things need to flow.
Dice, por ejemplo, que aquí en el lenguaje que está utilizando en la zona de la biomédica que no hay ángulos rectos, que no hay ángulos rectos, que no hay líneas rectas, que hay sobre todo pues ángulos de 45, que son todo para que fluya, ¿no? Que le gusta que fluya.
As you can see there, you're going to get a right angle when you come out of a door. There's not much you can do about that. But yeah, and it's all interweaved. You'll notice there's lots of windows that look outside. There's lots of windows that look back into the hangar. So we're not doing any cheating. Escape pods here.
Yeah, right at the front of the ship now. So this is the manned turret at the front, the big one up top. And then lots of escape pods here for everyone that's in the sort of upper front half if things go sideways and you need to get off the ship.
Claro, dice que pues hay diferentes puntos de cápsulas de escape para que si tú tienes que salir. Nos estamos enseñando ahí la torreta frontal hace un momento. Nos está diciendo que también está todo lleno de ventanales y que incluso pues que ventanales hacia la zona de naves. Del hangar, ¿no? Hacia el hangar para que se vea que no estamos haciendo ningún tipo de truco ni nada, que está ahí físicamente, ¿no?
On starboard side, have to do the bath sim head of port and starboard.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned that, John, because navigation has been a little bit of an issue. So these corridors that you're running around at the moment, they're going to have a lot more of an injection of colour in the future. So you'll have a much better understanding of whether you're going forwards or backwards or whether you're on the left or the right.
Están diciendo de que van a tener como mucho más colorido la zona de estribor o de babor y tal, que va a estar como... O sea, están hablando de las indicaciones que hay hacia la cartelería y demás, que esto va a estar mucho más definido en el futuro.
Worth noting as well, like all the spaces that you're seeing are completely undressed. There are, tens of thousands of entities that end up on top of what you're seeing for Squadron because it needs to feel more lived in, it needs to tell that story. So it's kind of bare bones seeing it this way, which is kind of strange for me at the moment.
Yeah, it was very strange when we were getting this ready for the PU to take off all those layers. And
Está comentando de que hay un montón de capas, de detalles que han quitado, de cientos de... O sea, decenas de miles. Decenas de miles que han sacado de entidades que tienen por ahí. Son un montón de entidades que han quitado para poder meterlo en el PU y tal, y que se siente raro que realmente que está todo mucho más revestido en el Escuadrón 42 para contar una historia.
Sort of see it in a state that we've not seen.
Plus also we're not seeing it with NPCs.
Yeah.
When you see this with NPCs and, you know, people walking around carrying out their duties, engineers doing their things at panels or whatnot, it feels lived in, it feels alive. But, you know, hopefully when it goes into the PU, there'll be plenty of people running around anyway, which will make it feel very similar for you guys.
Aparte de ver esto sin NPCs yendo a hacer sus tareas o las tareas de la nave, que se siente vacío, que cuando esté esto pues que se habrá vida, pero dice, esperemos que... suponemos, ¿no? Esperamos que cuando esto llegue a las manos del PU, que los jugadores también estarán haciendo por ahí sus cosas y de esa misma sensación.
Balls.
You want to get buff? Go to the gym.
I don't know what we had there originally opposite the ATC. Was it? It was the pilot.
It was the pilot ready area, but we moved the pilot ready area down to the same level as a hangar, so you can get your gear, scramble out as quickly as possible, rather than getting your gear,
Run down a flight of stairs.
falling down 2 flights of stairs, and then sort of hobbling into your ship with a broken ankle.
Y están comentando que han puesto ahí el gimnasio y que antes ahí estaba la zona en la que se preparaban los pilotos, pero que la han movido hacia abajo, hacia la zona del hangar, para que no haya tanta distancia, que no haya tanta incomodidad a la hora de poder equiparse.
Then going further back.
Y hacia atrás.
We're sort of halfway, 3/4 of the way back.
Yeah, you got your sort of, I think...
The crossover point here.
Yeah, you got 2 crossover points in the hangar. Now you're going to sort of come through, and this is where a lot of the asymmetry comes in, although the footprint is sort of similar. You'll come through. On one side you've got Brig, which is where all the naughty people go, and we have a lot of naughty people in the game. There's a security office in there, and on the opposite side of that is, basically the opposite side of the ship, is the armory, which you'll see in
Dice que tenemos en un lado de la nave, tendremos lo que sería la zona de... Aparte de que tener dos caminos que cruzan el hangar, de esos puentes que habéis visto, no tenemos lo que sería en un lado la zona de la prisión y en el otro lado pues la zona de la armería.
a little bit.
Con la zona de
Big
prisión
escape pods, so
con la silla de oficinas y tal.
big shared ones rather than individual pods. You might have seen, as we've gone around, some big red signposted rooms. They, I believe, have EVA airlocks in them as well as sort of maintenance storage areas, so all signposted so you know in a hurry where to go. Then the main briefing room.
Main briefing room.
Está comentando que estos serían zonas de mantenimiento y luego pues lo que vimos también que eso
Airlocks in them as well as sort of maintenance.
y en esto que teníamos por aquí que sería cápsulas de escape pero para más de una persona, que no son individuales.
Storage areas, so all signposted so you know in a hurry where to go. Then the main briefing room.
Main briefing room, again, integral to Squadron. This is where you're going to get your mission briefings and so on.
La zona de briefing, que es donde conseguiremos en Escuadrón la actualización de la misión o los detalles de la misión.
It's a big ship.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it.
Like I say, there's a lot crammed in.
Yeah.
So now we're in the opposite side to where the brig was. So this is the armory and shooting range.
Quite a bit of inspiration from RoboCop. Yeah, as you can probably all tell, I'm a bit of an 80s buff when it comes to the movies. When I had to do things for real, actually build things, it visually makes quite a big difference to me as a visual kind of guy.
That firing range area is another one of the areas that has changed around a bit.
No sé lo que ha dicho, que esto está inspirado en Robocop, pero no sé qué coño es esto.
Top. A lot to it.
Like I say, there's a lot crammed in.
Yeah.
So now we're in the opposite side to where the brig was. So this is the armory and shooting range.
Quite a bit
Vale, este es el campo de tiro. Esto es el campo de tiro, la armería del campo de tiro.
of inspiration from RoboCop.
Inspiración de Robocop, sí.
Yeah, as you can probably all tell, I'm a bit of an 80s buff when it comes to the movies. When I had to do things for real, actually build things, it visually makes quite a big difference to me as a visual kind of guy.
That firing range area is another one of the areas that has changed around a bit over time because it was an all-in-one.
I think it was on the other side as well.
Yeah.
I think we flipped it, and then we got into the logistics of, you know, what happens if you take your gun away from there? What's going to happen to you as a player? So there was, you know, 'cause you're not supposed to walk around a military ship with a firearm in your hand, basically. So yeah, lots of minor changes there, more for the social experience.
Claro, que cambiaron ahí el tema, por ejemplo, de dónde estaba el campo de tiro, lo pusieron a lo de la armería porque no tenía sentido que la gente con una nave militar fuera por ahí con un arma, ¿no?
So this is above the rear of the hangar, not all the way at the back, because it has two lifts that go down to, or one lift that goes down to the... Two?
Yeah,
one each side.
there's one each side that connects with the hangar, so if you're bringing in supplies or getting ready to go out on a long journey into the depths of space, you can, you know, utility vehicle drops the cargo off and you can load up pretty efficiently.
Claro, eso sería pues una zona de carga que veis que está ahí en la zona de la parte de atrás de los hangares, o sea, del hangar, perdón, y que sería pues eso para poder meter o sea, cosas que necesites para cargar ahí, suministros o lo que sea.
Decontamination area before you get into what would be the engine room.
Zona de contaminación antes de entrar en la zona de ingeniería, la habitación de ingeniería.
Very different feeling, like we talked about, compared to the rest of the ship.
Yeah, it's the thing with Aegis, we sort of looked at a lot of real-world scientific, I would say, you know, hadron colliders, nuclear reactors. CERN was a big sort of inspiration with a lot of...
Colisionadores de hidrógeno, el CERN y demás inspiraciones de la vida real. Tiene un feeling muy diferente al resto de la nave, una sensación muy diferente al resto de la nave.
Paneling and general sort of feel, and that's continued in the
O sea, se fijaron en el colisionador de partículas del CERN, ¿vale? Para hacer esto.
Gauntlet and a lot of the other Aegis ships that you'll see.
And then you will have seen them dotted around in all the corridors, but there's a lot of wall panels that hold all the components. So whilst we do have some big capital size components like in the engine room, there's a lot of sort of secondary redundancy with all these extra wall panels dotted around. So if one area of the ship goes down, it's not completely scuppered. You can still route power around.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing in the original design document, John, where if life support systems went down on the rear of the ship, there was actually sort of like large bulkheads that close that section of the ship off, so the rest of the ship can survive. So again, you know, thinking about sort of multiplayer aspect, if you were to try and ambush one of these things, I think there's going to be quite a lot of fun to be had.
Yeah, those bulkheads, I think you probably will have seen.
Están hablando de, por ejemplo, de que hay diferentes accesos a componentes por la nave y tal, porque si fallan unos sistemas en la nave, pues no necesariamente la nave se va al traste. En este caso nos están enseñando puertas selladas que se van a cerrar, puertas compartimentadas que se cerrarán en el caso que falle el soporte vital para sellar áreas de la nave y que eso pues hará interesante a la hora de tratar de hacer un abordaje también, ¿no?
Some of them in the corridors, as we watch big yellowy orange.
Yellowy orange, okay. The layout as well, the engine room, you'll notice, is pretty much, if you were boarding the ship from the hangar, pretty much the most well-protected room of the ship. Again, with that multiplayer feeling in mind. I think going off, do you remember Titan mode? Squadron, not Squadron, Battlefield?
Yeah.
El hangar es la zona más protegida de la
Really
nave.
just trying to create this sort of layer up on layer until you get to the engine room to make that quite difficult to ultimately disable the ship.
Like we talked about, there's a lot of flow in the interior, but there are those areas that have very distinct choke points to get to. Like the bridge is one, whilst there is multiple ways to get there, they're quite well defendable, and then the engine room is the other. So those are two areas you really don't want people getting to uninvited.
Yeah. Claro, dice que en las zonas del puente y la zona de ingeniería que están bien defendidas, que son las dos zonas en las que no quieres que invitados no deseados lleguen, ¿no? Y que bueno, pues que sería es bastante interesante, ¿no? El tratar de abordar la nave y llegar a esa zona de ingeniería para tratar de deshabilitar a la nave, como estábamos viendo. Y que hay, si bien en el puente pues hay varias formas de llegar, es fácilmente defender, o sea, tiene posiciones para poder defenderlo, ¿no?
There's a few ways you can go up to the bridge. There's obviously this lift, but there is also a set of staircases either side.
Está el elevador para llegar al puente y también escaleras a los dos lados.
So you have these sort of tactical stations at the back, flanking each side, down on a lower level from the main bridge area.
I think thing I would say most proud of on the bridge. There's been a lot of rework done, but you'll notice here the view out. It's pretty spectacular. Removed what would be, the cross frame, which went across the front of the ship, so you got completely unobstructed views out to space. But it still feels chunky and weighty.
Dice que removieron lo que son barritas y tal que había, pero que sigues teniendo y que ahora tienes una vista espectacular, pero sigue habiendo algunas barras, ¿no? En lo que es el cockpit, que la cabina esa que es espectacular. Y bueno, pues vimos ahí que tenía, pues al principio, en el primer nivel, pues tenía asientos de unos puestos de lo que sea, es que no me acuerdo ahora mismo cómo era el tema, espera, puestos de
down on a lower level from the main, so you have the tactical stations at the back.
Estaciones tácticas.
Rework done, but you'll notice here the view out. It's pretty spectacular. Removed what would be, the cross frame, which went across the front of the ship, so you got completely unobstructed views out to space. But it still feels chunky and weighty, which it needs to, which is, a success.
Claro, se sigue sintiendo, ¿no? Que han removido esto, pero se sigue sintiendo, o sea, que estás dentro de la estructura, ¿no?
So that was a little bit of a director's commentary on the Idris, which hopefully you'll have seen and experienced as part of the event that's been going on in the Persistent Universe recently. And as great as the ship looks in the video and the event, there's still quite a bit of work to do before we can give it to players to have for real. Things like resource network, multi-crew gameplay, all these things that make it an actual living, breathing capital ship that you want to run and own. That's pretty much it for now.
Yeah, to echo what John said.
Bueno, todavía queda mucho trabajo para poder sacarla, todo lo que es la administración de recursos, lo que viene siendo pues el tema de la ingeniería y tal, que todavía no está lista para lo que es para jugadores, porque queda mucho trabajo para tener en nuestras manos lo que se esperaría de una nave capital a nivel multijugador.
Hope you enjoyed what you saw.
Espero que hayáis disfrutado lo que hayamos visto y tal. Y que también lo dejo Juan Tripulación, Juan Tripulación, perdón, que ya me sale así. John Crew, que lo hubiéramos podido disfrutar en el evento y dos.
The ways to go with regards sort of delivering, the ship as a whole for the PU. But I just want to give a shout out to all the teams that have been involved in working on it. I mean, the list is endless. Artists, designers, concept artists, lighting crew, social design, level design. I mean, it's huge. There is literally hundreds of people involved in.
Dice que literalmente hay cientos de personas involucradas en esto, desde el diseño de niveles o sea que hay muchísima gente.
Delivering such an asset to yourselves, and we really hope with the limited time that you get it, that you really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there's people at the company that haven't touched it in some way or form over the years. Yeah.
Me estaría sorprendido si si alguien de la compañía no lo hubiera tocado de alguna manera la Idris de alguna forma, ¿no?
Such a big part of the experience.
Hubiera participado en el desarrollo de la Idris, ¿no?
So what we learned this week? Well, we learned that the Idris is a delight to behold inside and out, that it's benefited and continues to do so from years of iteration in Squadron 42, that there's still lots to be done beyond the currently fantastic art to bring the gameplay to it that it and its owners deserve, and that when all that is said and done, this is going to be one heck of an addition to the Persistent Universe. For Inside Jared Huckabee...
For Inside Jared Huckabee, vaya tela.
Oh no! Is this the ship you've been looking for? For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week. Some weeks you have it, some weeks you don't.
Y el cable queda mucho para la nave y tal, y que, bueno, por el fallo ese que hizo.
Stupid.
Ay, Dios. Ah, pues esto es lo que tenemos de la Idris, chavales. A ver, ellos han dicho que van a sacar la nave junto con Escuadrón 42. O sea que... Yo creo que una de las cosas que tiene que salir es Vulcan, ¿no?
Last week was our
Vulcan es una de las cosas que tiene que salir, o sea que...
last week was our
A ver, la verdad que es... Vamos a mirar aquí con calma una cosita, chicos, porque esto es una pasada. ¿Dónde está? Uf. Qué vasto, ¿no? Qué vasto, tío. A ver, vamos a mirar porque está un poquito más para adelante, ¿no? O sea, no le cabe un alfiler, ¿eh? No le cabe un puto alfiler, chavales. Es que... Está un poquito más para atrás, ¿no? Qué locura, tío. Qué puta locura, ¿eh? O sea, aquí está el acceso a... Aquí están las cápsulas de escape que nos estaban enseñando. Aquí está el acceso a la torreta superior. Debajo está el hangar. Todo esto es hangar. Aquí lateral pues tiene que tener... vamos a ver. Tiene que tener... Tiri, ti, ti, ti. Tiri, ti, ti, ti. No, así no me gusta. Tiri, ti, ti, ti. Ahí sí. Vamos a ver. Ahí no. A ver. Uf. No. Es que aquí ni siquiera se ve la zona de carga, tío. O sea, vamos a ver. El hangar termina... Ah, no. La zona de carga es esta. Claro, si el hangar termina aquí... El hangar termina aquí y esto sería la zona de carga. Sí, esto sería la zona de carga que nos han enseñado. Que está justo el puente que está aquí. Está justo encima. Y esta zona de acá debe ser la zona de ingeniería. O sea, todo esto de acá debe ser ingeniería. Escaleras, escaleras. Esta zona de aquí. Claro, o sea, en teoría, en una de estas zonas está lo que sería la armería y en el otro la prisión. Con el campo de tiro y todo el rollo. Supuestamente. Eh, creo, creo que sí, pero... A ver. Esto es la Bahía Médica. Esto es la Bahía Médica, esta zona de aquí. Ok. Vale. La nave más tocha capaz de aterrizar. No, RV. La nave más tocha capaz de aterrizar es la Kraken, tío. Es la Kraken, muchacho. The Kraken. Esto que hay aquí son las camas. Las zonas de baños, entiendo. ¿Las zonas de baños o la zona de...? No queda claro si es la zona de baños o la zona exclusiva de vivienda. Esto parece... Puede que sea esto. Lo del capitán. Esto es la zona del capitán, yo creo. Tiene pinta. A ver. Torretas. Ahí está. Ah, no, esto es el comedor. Es el comedor. Claro, estas son las viviendas y esto es el comedor. No son los baños, es el comedor. Y esto parece que es una zona de taquillas. Sí, pero esto es el comedor. Qué guapo, tío, qué locura. ¡Qué puta locura! Ni madre. La Kraken es más fina. No, 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 y un huevo. La Kraken es un monstruo, tío. La Kraken tiene 2 hangares enteros para reparar naves, tío. No, no. La Kraken es una bestialidad. La Javelin y la Bengal son orbitales. A ver, la Javelin no puede aterrizar en planetas, pero hay algunos que sí. O sea, por ejemplo, la Javelin puede ir a Horizon. Pues es que lo que es, yo creo que dependerá de la gravedad del planeta, ¿no? Un planeta como Hearthstone no podría, en principio. No tiene tren de aterrizaje, pero sí puede hacer docking. De hecho, ya lo ha hecho, ¿no? Entonces depende de la cuestión, ¿sabes? Tiene su cosa. Tienen de fondo Seraphim Station. Mm, Qué ganitas de tenerla, chavales. Qué ganas, eh. Mm, Qué guapo. Qué guapo, chicos. Pero... ¿Dónde está la lavandería? Hostia, pues es un buen punto, ¿eh? Es ropa que no se mancha, tío. Es ropa que no se mancha. Repele el polvo, malísimo, y la mierda y la roña. Hidrófugo y todo, tío. Lo que hay. Esto es lo que más descuadra de la Iris, ¿no? Esto es lo que más descuadra, o sea, que es en plan... Qué loco, eh. Maldita sea, chavales. Es una putada, tío. Es una putada el no poder... El no poder volarla ya después de haberla visto. Es una putada. Qué putada, tío. Bueno, se acabó, chavales. Se acabó el asunto. Es lo que hay. Es lo que hay. O sea... Se acabó el asuntaco.